I want to ask you something right before we get into this. When you use AI, do you fire off one long prompt or do you actually have a conversation with it? Because me personally, I talk to it for a long time. I throw something out, it comes back, I go, all right, but what about this? AI goes a little bit deeper. I go, yeah, but does that hold up if whatever? And somewhere around that third or fourth exchange, something clicks that never would have come from the first answer. And I've actually been prompting like this forever. There's a specific reason that it works. And here's the thing. You might have seen this method taught before or explained, but I realized it's been taught completely backwards. So let me explain. So the method, you've probably seen it in AI content, maybe in school before that. It's called the Socratic method, right? Developed by Socrates, ancient Greece, and it's still taught today. And the idea is simple. Instead of giving someone the answer, you ask questions that guide them toward figuring it out themselves. So when AI came along, everyone applied that same frame. Make AI the teacher. Let AI question you. Use AI as the guide that pushes your thinking, which sounds completely logical. But what if it's been taught wrong? Let me explain what I mean. So here's what most people miss. Socrates was actually the one asking all of the questions. He was not the wise one in the room. In fact, he famously claimed to know nothing. What he was the one holding the questions. His job was to make sure the conversation couldn't skip steps. The people being questioned, well, they were the ones that did the reasoning. He just wouldn't let them jump to a conclusion before they'd earned it. Now think about what happens when you fire one prompt at AI and take the first answer. Well, then it's AI that concluded, right? AI made the decision when the thinking was done, and you sat in the answers chair, I guess you can say, if this was a classroom. Now I want you to think about when you're having a conversation. When you push the answer and then you push again and won't let it land until it's actually earned it. So you're the one holding the questions. You're the one deciding when the reasoning is done. That's the flip. That's the inversion. You're not the student in this conversation. You should actually be Socrates, not the other way around, which is how it's been taught forever when it comes to AI. And that swap changes everything about what comes back. So real quick, let me explain what the Socratic method actually looks like as a structure that you can run with AI, right? So there's 4 stages, and this is the quick version here. I'm gonna have a demo at the end of this that will kind of make more sense. But stage 1, we'll call that wonder. So it's before you ask for anything, you establish what actually needs to be known first. You don't let AI answer yet. You just slow the whole thing down. Stage 2 is elenchus, where you take the most obvious advice that exists for your topic or whatever you're going for, and you challenge the assumption that's underneath it. Not the advice, the assumption that it's built on, right? Now that moves to stage 3, which is called aporia. You push on that cracked assumption until the standard answer admits it's broken. And that leads to the most important one, which is stage 4, which is meiotics. Now, you build the real answer from the new ground the sequence just cleared up, right? So it's 4 prompts, it's 4 stages. The Socratic method on AI, the way that it was actually designed to work. And don't worry, I'm gonna be putting in the exact prompts plus fill in the blank templates that you can use for any topic in a Notion doc. I'll link that below so you can grab those whenever you want. So what I'd really like to do is show you the demo real quick, and then you'll be able to kind of see how that all works. All right, so in this demo, I just want to do something real quick, very easy to kind of understand. And I'm just going to ask it a question about growing a personal brand in 2026 and beyond. And we'll use that as the example. I think everybody can kind of get a good idea of, how they might be able to use something similar to what these kind of prompts are and the process. And again, I will have everything in the Notion doc. So first question, I'm just going to paste it right in here right now, which is, what is the best way to grow my personal brand in 2026 and beyond? So this is just the first question. And this is what a lot of people might do right away. So I'll let this go through and do its thing. All right, we're back. So here is the answer to the question. Here's a comprehensive breakdown of the best strategies for growing your personal brand in 2026 and beyond. Now, I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but you can kind of see, we'll just, start with self-awareness and positioning and then information. Lead with authenticity, especially in the AI world. Choose your platform strategically, create content that demonstrates thinking, build community, not just an audience, use AI as a tool, not a crutch. So some good answers, and a lot of people might say, okay, this is perfect. But there's things here that the AI is completely missing, which is like maybe there's information about your brand that AI should probably know. And that's how you're going to take this a lot less of a generic answer into something that's better. But we're going to do this a little bit differently. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to get out of this chat. All right, so I am in a brand new chat now. Incognito mode again in Claude. As you can see, I'm still using Sonnet 4.6, which is what I use. I do not have extended memory on or anything like that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to paste in the real prompt. That is what you would actually use here. So let me grab that real quick. So now let me kind of explain what this prompt is doing. So now I'm saying, I want to ask you something, but before you answer, I want you to stop and think about this with me first. The question is, and goes back to the normal question, what is the best way to grow my personal brand in 2026 and beyond? That was my question that I asked before. However, we're adding, before you try to answer that, tell me what you would actually need to know about my specific situation before you could give me advice that's genuinely useful. Don't answer the question yet. That's important. Just tell me what questions you'd need answered first. So let's submit this. And let's see what we get back. I'll be back in a moment. All right, so here we go. So let's see. Great instinct to slow down before jumping to generic advice. So it automatically realized that it would be generic advice if I just asked it the actual main question. So here's what I genuinely need to know before saying anything useful about you. What's your current starting point? What do you actually do? Right? So now this is going to be specific information about yourself, right? So you can fill that out and go from there. But what you could also do is you could just go right into the second prompt, which is the Elenchus part of the Socrates or Socratic method, right? So now I'm going to ask this question as my reply. Okay, so here's something I want you to think about. Everyone says the way to grow a personal brand is to show up consistently, create great content, build a community, and stay authentic. But what if somebody did all that perfectly and still didn't grow? What assumption is all of that advice built on that nobody ever actually stops to question, right? So I know we're not answering these questions that popped up here, but we are asking a secondary question to kind of get some information, right? So let's submit that and let's see what it comes back with. All right, so the assumption buried underneath all this, the quality and consistency of output is the binding constraint. All of that advice, show up, create great content, be authentic, is implicitly built on the idea that the reason most people don't grow is because they're not doing enough or not doing it well. Fix the effort and quality and growth follows. But that assumes distribution is neutral, that if you built it well enough, people will find it. They won't, not automatically, not anymore. And then it goes on to some additional information that you probably wouldn't have gotten in your just initial response. Now, you could have gotten it through some additional questioning, but this is kind of a very specific way of going through this, which leads us to the next part of the process, which is the aporia part. So the prompt here is, so if that assumption isn't always true, what does that say about the standard personal brand growth advice that pretty much everyone gets told? Was that advice actually solving the right problem, or was it solving a problem that might not even be the real one for most people? So let's see what it says now. All right, so without really reading this whole thing, what I want you to concentrate on is it's the advice that was true in a specific context treated as timeless truth. And that's actually a very common failure mode with popular wisdom. The conditions that made it true disappear, but the advice keeps circulating because it sounds right and it's hard to disprove. If you follow it and don't grow, the implicit message is that you didn't execute well enough. The advice is never the suspect. So it's basically telling you that when you're getting this advice, normally you're getting it based off of a kind of a general consensus, more or less. You're not getting it specifically for you. So again, we're going to go into the final prompt in this sequence, which is really kind of getting the actual answer, or the Maieutic is what it's called. This one says, okay, so if the standard advice might be solving the wrong problem entirely, what would actually be the right first step for someone trying to grow their personal brand in 2026 and beyond? Not the usual checklist. What's the thing that actually needs to be figured out before any of that other stuff even matters, right? So we've gotten some answers, we've gotten some feedback from the AI, and now we're basically saying, okay, so if all that information, now that you have all that information and you've told me all that information, what can we actually do? What's the proper first step to actually do? Okay, so now here's more or less the final answer. And of course, I understand, and believe me, do not be afraid to continue to ask questions, or ask questions in a little bit of a different way. This is just kind of showing you the method of allowing yourself to be Socrates in this case, right? You're the one asking the questions to AI and letting AI respond back to you and kind of giving you that information back as far as how it works. And that's how you can continue to prod it further and further. As you can see here in this final output, right? The right first step is figuring out who already has your audience and why they would ever move them toward you, right? Which is interesting, right? I teach AI on this channel. I'm by no means an expert at all. I'm just somebody that goes out and uses this stuff and finds out what's useful. And if I find it useful, I go and I share it back out there. But there's a lot of other people that do that as well. So that was the thing that I needed to figure out, is how do I talk about this stuff and have that audience that I want, that demographic that's interested in what I can teach or what I can show or what I can share, and want to actually watch my content when they have all this other content as well, which is a really good answer, which we got within 4 tries, but completely different than kind of what we got earlier on from that first response when we asked just basically, how do I grow my social media, or how do I grow my personal brand in 2026 and beyond? So hopefully this demo made sense, and it kind of showed you how you can move forward. Now, again, think about what questions you want to ask, what topics you want to ask, and so forth, and kind of go from there, or maybe go back to one of your most recent AI chats and say, okay, let me try this reverse Socratic method that Craig just explained here, and see how it works for you. And I want to be clear, I am by no means a philosopher. I didn't set out to rediscover the Socratic method. I just noticed that having a conversation with AI worked better than firing one large prompt at it. And that's kind of how I've always worked. I've done these sequences for a long time, but I did decide to go looking for a reason. And the reason is this Socratic method has been backwards. And now you understand this too. You can try this yourself. And again, hopefully after watching the demo, it makes a lot more sense. And again, the prompts from the demo, everything will be in the Notion doc below. But other than that, that's it. I hope this is useful for you. I hope that you go out and try this. Please let me know how it works in the comments below. And other than that, thanks for watching. This is Craig, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.